Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. Hey, real quick, before we start the episode, I have a favor to ask you. Now, heading into 2024, the Keep What You Earn team and I are hyper-focused on making this podcast the best that it can be for you who listen. And to help with this, I would really appreciate it if you could please take a few seconds to fill out a brief survey about the show. After you complete it, please check your email inbox for a special gift from us to shop some swag. Your feedback is so appreciated and will help us create the best show that we can. All right, back to the episode. So tax season is not the most fun for anybody, including myself. Although I like talking about taxes and helping you save money in taxes, it's really not fun for anybody to have to deal with an extra thing to do every single, Q1. And one thing that I keep seeing come up for business owners is they end up in this pit of despair around March and April. They're on the floor with all their bank statements, trying to piece it all together and trying to get it in just in time to get this assignment in. It's a weird callback to having this paper that's due in April and waiting until the last minute to get it done, and then kind of imposing the stress on ourselves that's totally unnecessary. And today happens to be the extended tax deadline for individuals. So I felt it appropriate to proactively talk to you about how we can just eliminate any of this tax season stress next year. And it's not only, I'm going to tell you right now before you skip this and go, she's going to tell me to do my books. Yes, I am. But most of what I'm going to tell you is things that are totally approachable, totally doable, and don't require you to do a whole lot of work. Sound good? All right, I'm going to tell you about it. So number one, let's just get it out of the way. Yes, I'm going to tell you to do your books. But here's why. Because when you're doing your bookkeeping proactively and you're doing it in the year that we're actually in, then not only can you actually use the data, which I always say, but you're going to not have to do a ton of work to catch it up. If you're only doing, you could be spending hours and hours, days and days, weeks and weeks catching up a whole year of bookkeeping, or you could be spending a couple hours total catching up the last month, the last few weeks of the year. So this is an optimal time to get yourself caught up to the point where you're 3/4 of the way done. And then it's just icing on the cake at the end, So it's a lot easier if you can embrace the idea of doing this in milestones. So if this is overwhelming to you to do your bookkeeping to prepare for tax time, the way to reduce the stress of this and to reduce the burden is not, oh my God, I have to do it all right now, or oh my God, I have to do it every week. Realistically, guys, this should take you maybe an hour every month, in theory. If you don't have a lot of going on, like if you don't have crazy inventory or sales tax stuff or payroll and all this stuff, if you're like kind of just starting out, this shouldn't take you more than an hour a month. I'm not kidding. And if you have, let's say this would take you longer because you're not really sure what you're doing or you have a complicated set of books, you could have a bookkeeper do it. But again, it would cost you, we'll say ballpark, the median bookkeeper range is around $500 a month. And it would free up your time, multiple hours of your time, which I would hope most people who listen to the show, your time is worth at least $500 an hour, or maybe $250 an hour, but that would be 2 hours of your time. So instead of spending 2 hours obsessing and stressing and creating all this negative emotion around it, you could just outsource it. So I want to just open you up to the idea of outsourcing, but also open you up to the idea it's way more digestible. I mean, a week of bookkeeping, 15 minutes. If you could do 15 minutes every Friday at 5 p.m. and be done with it for the whole year, it's not that bad when you think about it. Just giving yourself a little task to do that every week, every other week, every month. I mean, start with a few installments during the course of the year. Start with maybe 3 or 4 installments of doing it as a project. But in certain seasons, you could definitely do that. And you can change the frequency. You don't have to do it consistently either. You could do it every week for Q1 and then Q2, change it up, I think that we put too much pressure on ourselves to that this is like a huge deal or this is some type of huge burden. And I'm telling you, it is not. It is really simple. And it's just a matter of getting comfortable going back through your transactions and knowing what the hell you spent your money on. And it may require you to do a little bit of research, but here's why it's so important. And this is why it will reduce your stress level, because it becomes stressful when it's time consuming, and it becomes time consuming when you wait too long to pick it up. Because when you wait too long, going back, let's just say we're in October right now. And if I were to ask you what you spent for this one credit card swipe you made in January, and I'm like, what was that? And you're like, I don't freaking have any idea. Why? Because it was so damn long ago. And if you're used to, having things more in real time, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier. When you're looking at what did you spend your money on last week versus 6 months ago, it's huge, huge difference. So I want you to just kind of open your mind up to, hey, maybe I should just create a habit to get this done a lot sooner. That will alleviate a ton of your tax season stress. Hey, real quick, you might remember Austin Priest, who was a guest on our show not that long ago. Well, he's got a free financial planning tool that I can't wait to tell you about. Here's more about it. Hey, so I bet you've been putting up any sort of financial planning chat with your spouse or even a professional. And I get it. It's not always fun to talk about money or the future when everything feels so up in the air right now. But here's the thing. I just finished filling out the Priest FP free financial planning profile in less than 15 minutes. This just eliminated 2 meetings with our financial planner by putting everything in one place. It even let me log into my bank so I didn't have to pull up the statements. We walked away with a summary of our goals and our net worth, plus a few reminders about the things we need to be doing right now. And all of it was totally free and so fast. Head over to priestfp.com now and complete your free plan. So bookkeeping is paramount always. But I think that a lot of messages, even I've shared with you and other professionals have shared with you, we keep saying, do your books, do your books, do your books. And a lot of people still don't do it. But I think the roadblock is in you guys thinking that it's harder than it is, or kind of just going, I'll start tomorrow. It's like that one workout, the one, I'll start on Monday, I'll start tomorrow. And I think once you start and you realize the power this has, you're going to go, why the hell didn't I do this sooner? Think about the first person you hired. You waited until you were desperate, crying on the floor and go, I need help. And you hired somebody and you're like, God, why didn't I do this 6 months sooner? This is most of the conversations I have with people about their accounting. So just keep in mind that the day you start is the day you start and you move on from there. And then the second thing I want to tell you to do to alleviate tax season stress is to just start a folder. And that could be a physical folder, that could be a digital folder, or it could be both. Let me tell you how me and my husband have always done this. Now, I have to give you some background. I don't come from a tax background, believe it or not. I used to have somebody else do my taxes when I worked at Big Four because I was in audit. I did financial accounting. I did CFO style work. So I didn't do deep dive tax work. So we had somebody else that did our taxes because I just couldn't be bothered to deal with it. So even I outsourced it for many years. And here's what we used to do, and we still do. We have a manila folder on our kitchen island. And if we get mail in the wintertime, all the tax documents and stuff, if we get mail in, it goes in there. That's the tax folder, the we need this for our taxes folder. We also have a digital file on our secure cloud storage where we will put anything we get emailed, or I will go through my emails. I also have an email inbox folder. And if I donate, this is key, guys. If you donate to charity during the course of the year, or you have any other things that are going to be required for your taxes that you might want to deduct, then you're going to have to take those emails. I promise you, this will save you so much freaking time. Take those emails, put them in a folder called taxes or something, and then just open up that folder at the end of the year and start printing the emails or storing the emails in that digital folder, whatever floats your boat. We happen to print them out and put them all into a hard copy folder. We print everything out and put it into a hard copy. I know Shannon's got a paperless firm, but when I'm in front of my desk and I'm doing our taxes and I can flip through and I can mark stuff up and I can write things down on it and mark that I did it, and then store our tax return with all that backup in one folder. I just find that to be easy. It's so funny because I do everything digital for my clients, but we have this like bookshelf of our tax returns and all our support. So it's easy. I think the bigger your package is, the bigger your package is for your taxes, you'll need something a little bit more your style of how you can maintain it. It might be harder to maintain digitally, or if it's scattered, that's not good. You want to keep it all in one place. So a lot of documents will come in physically via the mail. So a lot of the documents will come in and we will just succumb to the fact that most of the documents are hard copies. So we just kind of move everything to hard copy. So whatever floats your boat. But I would say have a documentation system so that you can put your emails in there, put your hard copies in there, put your digital downloads, your PDFs, put it all in there for your tax docs. And then you can hand it to your accountant and it's so easy. Like, here's the whole package. You don't have to wait for them to ask for every little itty bitty thing. Because what could be causing you stress too in tax time is, well, my accountant asked for this, and then I sent them this, and then they asked me for more stuff, and then they asked me for more stuff. And you really don't know when it's going to stop. Like, you don't know when it's going to end. And I'll tell you, it ends with you giving them everything you have for every, deduction you can take and every piece of income that you bring in. And if the accountant has a good process, then they're going to ask for all of that up front and you're going to provide it. But there's a lot of stuff that gets lost in translation. So I would say anything that is an official tax doc, put it in the folder and set it aside to give to the accountant. And then the last thing I'm going to say is something that I think is the number one reason that you are probably stressed out around tax time and the way to alleviate it. And that is who you're working with. That is who you're working with. I think that a lot of people get stressed out around tax time for two reasons. One is the person they're working with is not communicating with them. So meaning that you feel ill prepared. You feel like, hey, I just have this person I send my documents to, but I have no idea where things stand. I don't know where they are in the process. I don't know when to expect my documents back. I don't know what my filing is going to look like. I really don't know what to expect. And you feel clueless. You feel like insecure because of the uncertainty, right? And I think that is where a lot of people are. And I'm going to tell you this from the flip perspective of the accountant. Accountants are not trying to do that to you. They're not trying to make you feel ghosted. They're not trying to make you feel uncertain and uncomfortable. They are beyond overwhelmed at the hundreds of tax returns they have to do. And you are just in the line waiting to get done. You are just a ticket in the system most of the time. And you emailing them is going to slow them down and going to prevent them from getting the stuff done. And I'll admit, a lot of accountants are really good at doing tax returns and not very good at managing their business. And again, I'm painting a broad brush, but I'm painting with a broad brush because I've just seen this with accountants. Like, they're not very good at managing a business or managing an overall process. They're really good at doing the work. So think about the technician in the eMyth. Like, they're really good technicians, but not the best managers or entrepreneurs. So they're not thinking about when it's tax time, it's go time. They're not thinking about the client service aspect as much as they're thinking about, I need to get all this done and make sure you're compliant, make sure you're filing. And that's kind of their way of showing love to you, is they're focused on getting the work done. So I would say give them grace on that. But also, you should come to expect a certain degree of customer service based on your expectations of delivery. So if it's really important to you as a value that you are communicated with frequently, number one, you should express that. Number two, you should find out if that is a realistic expectation of the pro you're working with and if they're going to charge you more for that. And there's nothing wrong with them charging you more for that if that's what you need. But if you know what you need to order, they can tell you what it will take to cook that for you and what that will look like in terms of a fee. So if you want to customize the offer, just be prepared for the conversation. That's all I'm saying. So when it comes to hiring a professional, I want you to think about what possibly stresses you out that could be controlled. So what can be controlled with regard to the communication, with regard to how you are interacting with that person, the meetings, the number of meetings during the year, and to ask yourself, like, can this be changed? Because I think most people kind of surrender to the idea that the way that it's done with their current professional is just like the way it is. So if you get one meeting a year with them, that you guys just tolerate that and say like, well, I only get to meet with them once a year. Like, there are plenty of people out there who are meeting 4, 5, 6 times a year, whatever you want. And if you want that, you can ask for that and you can get that. It's totally doable. But the problem is that we kind of just go, well, this is what so-and-so does, so this is what I do. And you're relinquishing control. You're relinquishing your preferences to the way that person operates, instead of coming to the table and saying, this is what I need in order to feel successful. Can you provide that to me? And now more than ever, you should realize how much of a choice you have in who you work with, that you have a complete choice in who you're choosing to be on your board of advisors. This is a key person in your board of advisors. Even if they're quote unquote just doing your taxes, they are still going to be an influential party in your business and in your life. So you should be working with someone who you look forward to meeting with because they're strategizing with you. They understand your goals. They know who you are. And if you're not working with that person, you can find that person. We have a resource that we're putting out, which is live right now. It is called the Money Pro Matchmaker. And if you go to moneypromatchmaker.com, this is going to help you a ton if you are feeling lost with who you should be hiring. We have this resource available to you for free. And it is like what we call ourselves as accounting professionals, all the different labels, what we do, what problems we solve, what questions we can answer for you. And there's actually interview questions on there, like what you can ask your professional. So we make it a lot easier for you to find the pro that actually fits your needs. It's kind of like, remember when the love languages thing came out? Like when we found out each other's love languages, and then we were like, oh my God, my love language is, physical touch and his is acts of service. And now I understand like why we interact the way we do, right? It's kind of that with accountants. Like I can kind of tell you that this is what they're doing and this is why you may be feeling some friction, but also when to call it quits, if you will, when to decide that like, hey, I think I need something different. We cover all of that in Money Pro Matchmaker. So I encourage you to check that out. But I think that, and I created that with this in mind because one of the biggest reasons why people are stressed out around tax time is because they don't know what they don't know. And they don't know what to expect. They just don't know how much they're going to owe. They don't know if they're going to get a refund. They don't know if they did it right. They don't know if they have the right documents. They don't know, like all these things create stress because we get stressed out from uncertainty. And the more that your professional can provide you that judgment-free solace, knowing that, yeah, I got you. You're held, you're being catered to, and we're going to take you through this thing together and make sure that you feel comfortable along the way. If you need that, you should not feel ashamed for asking for it. If you need it, you shouldn't feel ashamed for asking for it because that's what will ensure your success. And ideally, as a customer service business, your tax professional should be serving you in the best interest of your success. So that's my 2 cents on who you're working with and how that can impact your stress level around tax season. And keep in mind, guys, I always say that if you had a subject in school that you hated, how much of it was because you had a shitty teacher? It was probably because you had a shitty teacher. There were certain subjects that I absolutely hated. And I realized looking back that I just didn't have a good teacher. And the subjects that I loved, I had great teachers because I understood it faster because I had great teachers behind it. And I realized that so many people never had good teachers around money and finance, never had good teachers around math, economics, business, whatever it may be, or not even just not having good teachers, but not having any teachers. Some people never learn this stuff. And a lot of business owners have never learned this. So having that patience and having that ability to speak into what you want, what you need out of a professional to support you is key. It's absolutely key. So I encourage you, revisit who you're working with and make sure that's not going to cause you any additional stress. It's stressful enough. And look into how you can proactively prepare for this coming tax season. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.